Coming up on this edition of MU Report, many on Marshall's campus and in the Huntington area could be affected by prescription pill abuse.
And see why students are complaining about the current parking situation and what's being done about it. Also coming up, the Marshall soccer program bid farewell to their home stadium, Sam Hood Field, this weekend.
From the campus of Marshall University, this is MU Report.
Hello and welcome to this edition of MU Report. I'm Dale Johnson.
And I'm Aliana Tejas. This is a student-produced newscast from the W. Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Marshall University. Now on to our top story.
The Drug Enforcement Agency says prescription pill abuse is a nationwide issue. As Jesse Shafer reports, it is a problem for Marshall and the Huntington area.
To excel in college, it takes hard work, and for some students, help comes in the form of illicit drug use. According to the Drug Enforcement Agency, Adderall, a medication used to treat attention deficit disorder, is becoming a hot commodity on college campuses.
Prescription drugs, there's a reason why they're prescribed by a doctor, and that's because they are dangerous but beneficial chemicals in some instances. And for that, they deserve our respect.
According to the United Way, hundreds of residents in our area in the last year have been affected in some way by this form of drug abuse, whether it be by jail time themselves or loved ones given jail time. The personal accounts of this issue experienced by the residents of the Healing Place in Huntington bring the reality to light.
I was addicted to opiates and alcohol and methamphetamine. I knew there was a problem. One of my charges I actually caught was a failed suicide attempt, and I knew I had a problem. I didn't think there was a way out. I thought that was the only way.
While Morrison gives a face to the issue that is prescription pill abuse, he now uses the lessons he has learned to help others beat their addictions.
Done with the first phase of the Healing Place, and now I'm using all the tools I've been taught to give back to others, like it was taught to me.
Cabell County leads the nation with one of the highest rates of prescription pill abuse. Recovery centers are being set up all around the state to help combat the issue. Drug take-back days are being implemented. That's where the public can safely come in and dispose of their unused medication. United Way, the organizers of the event, say it's been very successful. Jesse Shafer, MU Report.
A committee in the Student Government Association is drafting a bill to try and ban smoking on Marshall's campus. Whether or not cigarettes should be permitted on campus has turned into a heated debate. Ashton Bias reports.
The assessment day surveys are in, and the results show students have a large concern about smoking on campus. Campus Life Chair Ashley Caranta started a committee within the Student Senate to investigate the issue and smoke out a solution.
I personally wanted the smoking ban because I'm allergic to cigarette smoke, and I don't enjoy having to walk to class behind clouds of cigarette smoke when I'm walking and through them when I'm trying to enter the doors.
Caranta said the results came back heavily in favor of some sort of ban. Dean of Students Steve Hensley says smoking is a personal choice and doesn't see the ban necessary.
Smoking to me is a matter of individual freedom and personal choice, and people do things that are harmful all the time. But do we as an institution, as a free society, have the right to restrict somebody if what they're doing doesn't harm other people?
The Huntington Health Department created the Clean Indoor Air Act regulations just last year. It designated all smoking areas had to be within 20 feet of any entrance or exit. But as you can see right here, the smoke receptacle still remains very close to the entrance of Smith Hall. Senate President Pro Temp Adam Fridley said SGA is taking the concerns of the students seriously. He says some type of regulation, whether it be a ban or just enforcement of the Huntington Health Department regulations, are necessary.
I don't know what the scope of those results will be, what the end product would be like, but when you're an elected representative of the students and they make their voice heard in that fashion, you certainly want to be able to accomplish something and do something to address the issue they have.
Caranta said there is a bill in progress right now to create some type of ban, and she is hopeful that it will be passed by Senate before Thanksgiving break. Ashton Bias, MU Report.
Student Senate just voted to disband the committee studying the smoking ban at its most recent meeting.
Students say parking continues to be an issue here on campus, but according to Campus Safety Director Jim Terry, There are plenty of spots available. Some students say finding a parking spot on campus has them driving in circles, but Campus Safety Director Jim Terri says that some parking lots are simply not being utilized.
The stadium lot has not been full this year. We have a lot on Maple Ave, 2 lots on Maple Avenue. The South Maple lot is underutilized. There's never more than 10 cars on there.
While it seems that spots are available, students are still having a hard time finding them.
It's horrible if you get here after like 9 o'clock and you just have to drive around until somebody leaves, or you have to go to another parking lot. And I mean, they've got a lot of parking, but it's not accessible to campus like this parking lot is.
Yeah, you kind of have to judge what time you're going to get here. Fridays are usually pretty good because no one's here.
Students say the time of day is irrelevant, that spots should be available. But according to Terri, they are.
The parking garage is not full. I mean, we have a lot of students that use it. Surface lots are sold and capped at a certain ratio, so there is available parking.
Current parking woes are nothing new to campus, and the way some students are reacting, it seems they will be lurking around for a while. But Terri says plans are in the works to build a parking garage right here near the Joan C. Edwards Performing Arts Center and the Alpha Zeta Delta Sorority House. Terri says surface lots are not an option, so it is necessary to build vertically.
Last year, the Marshall University Library Associates Group raised $10,000 to aid the WSAZ News Film Archive. This year, they're raising funds for their second annual silent fundraising campaign. As Chrystal Phillips reports, the group hopes to raise money for the Rosanna Blake Library of Confederate History.
In Morrow Library, a historical collection speaks volumes. It's the Rosanna Blake Library of Confederate History.
This collection is basically a set of materials, books, monographs, papers, and other documents and newspapers pertaining to Robert E. Lee, the Southern states before the Civil War, and the Confederacy.
The historical books, journals, music, newspapers, photographs, and much more were all a previously owned private collection by Rosanna Blake. On her death, Blake left the collection to Marshall University.
The people at Marshall developed a relationship with her early in the 1960s when she said that she was looking for somewhere to eventually put this collection.
The Marshall University Library Associates Group says they want to help preserve this collection. They are doing so by hosting its second annual silent fundraising campaign to raise money for the collection.
The primary need is for preservation. Some of those things, some of the books, the binding and the adhesives used to hold those things together has just deteriorated over the last 150 years to the point where that's our biggest need right now.
Last year, the Marshall University Library Associates Group raised $10,000 for the WSAZ Film News Archive. And this year, they're trying to raise the same amount of money for the Rosanna Blake Library of Confederate History collection. Chrystal Phillips, MU Report.
The Marshall men's soccer team played the final game on Sam Hood Field Saturday night. Jake Snyder has the story.
This story begins with the end. The final goal at Sam Hood Field, in overtime, for the win. But the story of the final goal at Sam Hood Field must really start with the beginning. Sam Hood Field has played host to the Thundering Herd soccer program since 1996.
I mean, it's a great way to pay tribute to the guys that have been here before us, and also how much blood, sweat, and tears have been put in here. I mean, you hear Bob talk about all the time back when they first made this field, and they got the land for it. They had guys that came out here after practice every day picking up rocks, just to have a place to play on, so they weren't playing in the stadium anymore.
The Herd put together an impressive 76, 35, and 9 record in 15 years on their home turf. None more miraculous than the 2-1 victory over Tulsa to close out the Sam Hood Field era.
I had a lot of fond memories about this place, and I'm going to miss it dearly. Obviously excited about the new facility, but yeah, I mean, this was bittersweet.
The new Marshall soccer facility will be located here at the former Veterans Memorial Fieldhouse, where Marshall plans to spend $5.4 million to demolish this building and construct the new field.
It is a fitting way, as you said, to end the Sam Hood soccer field era right here.
This story began with the end. With the construction of the new facility set to begin in February, it ends with the beginning. Jake Snyder, MU Report.
Marshall students traded ramen noodles and sweatpants for a 4-course meal and a tie last week at an etiquette dinner sponsored by Career Services. The goal of the dinner was to prepare students for job opportunities and learn the proper way to dine in a professional environment.
I do work with a lot of upperclassmen because it's really relevant as they're getting ready to do the interview process and go out and find those jobs. Food is often involved with that.
Students who attended the dinner learned the correct way to conduct themselves in a business setting during the 90-minute feast. The Career Services says that more than 40 students attended the event. If you missed the dinner this time around, Career Services will have it again next semester.
The Pumpkin House in Canova, West Virginia has become a tradition that has put the small town just outside of Huntington on the map. But the pumpkins don't simply appear on the house by themselves. As Aaron Payne reports, it takes a lot of work by a lot of people.
In the fall, people from far and wide come to the little town of Canova, West Virginia at 748 Beach Street to marvel at what has become to be known as the Pumpkin House. Close to 3,000 pumpkins adorn the historic house of Mayor Ric Griffith, with twice as many lights to illuminate the October night. But how exactly does the spectacle come to be? Griffith says the process begins a year in advance.
Well, my children, now grown, will gladly tell you that it's a year-round process. We'll be out somewhere and I'll see something. I said, that could be a pumpkin. It could be a teacup or something that little children could identify. And so that never ends.
Once the ideas start pouring into one of Griffith's 10 binders full of drawings, the physical preparations begin.
Then when the volunteers begin to come, we sort of announce the start date. They start scooping the bottoms out, or the insides out. We use hole saws to cut the bottoms out. And then we have adults to carve with jigsaws. And we have people that rinse them and set them on the lights.
The volunteers are mostly residents of the town. Some have lived there for a while, and others have just moved into the community, like Rachel Gibson, who just moved to the area from Chicago, Illinois.
There's not a lot of community feel like this up in the big city, so it's very nice to be relocated to such a interwoven community that's involved with each other and open their houses to random strangers to come and carve pumpkins and get to see your end result lit up on the weekend.
Not only do the volunteers come from within the community, Griffith says the Marshall students will make the trip to pitch in as well.
We get hundreds of Marshall students to view it and dozens who volunteer to help. In fact, some groups, like many of the exchange students, come down. And I'm afraid they get a little confused about American culture. They think every American does this. But yes, we do get lots of help from them.
Through rain and shine, Ric Griffith and his group of volunteers will carve pumpkins late into the night to get the house ready for the public. Some might find this behavior strange, but where those people see a pumpkin, the volunteers see the magic of childhood.
I think the neatest thing that's ever been said to us was by a lady, an elderly lady who walked in my backyard on a walker, and she was crying. And I thought, oh no, a pumpkin's fallen off the roof, hit her grandson, and I'm going to be sued. But she said, who owns this place? And I identified myself, and she said, you know, as you grow up, you lose the wonderment of childhood. You never feel like you did on Christmas morning or when you got your first bicycle. She said, but tonight I stood in front of this display, had that feeling and knew what it was, and I wanted to thank you.
Once the display is complete, children of all ages will stand in wonder of the massive display. Thanks to the work of Griffith and the volunteers, those on the older side will be able to feel like a kid again, even if it's just for a night. Aaron Payne, MU Report.
Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of MU Report. I'm Aliana Tejas.
And I'm Dale Johnson. Thanks for tuning in.